So Kuyper, that's his 1891 speech. He then goes to Princeton in 1898, and he says to the seminarians there, now you and I might think, oh gosh, Princeton, terrible, lunacy up there, crazy liberals, but not in 1898. These were the intellectual elites, often from the standpoint of the Christian tradition. They knew the Greek, they knew the Latin, they knew the Hebrew, they studied all the ancient works, they understood the lexicon in which the culture of the time was writing. And he said this to them, there is no doubt that Christianity is imperiled by great and serious dangers. Two life systems are wrestling with one another in mortal combat. Now, obviously, Kuyper was not a person who believed that Christianity was imperiled in any ultimate sense, and neither am I. Just impossible. That means God fails, right? I'll bet on God. But it is imperiled because there are times we have seen in history, just think of the times in which Wilberforce lived, where he said, we have to just restore manners. And we've got the slave trade. So we've seen these ebbs and flows of history, have we not? And he's saying we're facing one of these periods where Christianity is imperiled. Modernism, he says, is bound to build a world of its own from the data of the natural man and to construct man himself from the data of nature. All we have is what we can see, touch, and feel. Nature is all there is. It is the absence of the supernatural. Now, when I use the term supernatural, I do not mean mysticism. I do not mean supernatural in the sense of perhaps the more extraordinary spiritual gifts. I'm talking about, do we believe that the foundation of the whole world is rooted in a supernatural being of God? And I might say today that we've moved past modernism to what we now know as postmodernism, which is it's not just we're going to construct a world from the data of the world and construct man from the data of man. You get to construct your own universe from your own data. And you'll see many people in Hollywood talking about live your truth. So there's a sense in which we can see in the move from modernism to postmodernism how the church has failed. That postmodernism is so rampant is proof to me that the foundation has changed of our social order. If you want to look at it, here's the United States Supreme Court in 1992 in the case of Planned Parenthood versus Casey, where the Supreme Court wrote, in the context of marriage, choices central to personal dignity and autonomy are central to the liberty protected by the 14th Amendment. Now, what they were saying there was about the family and the marital relationship. And there is a sphere in which God has said man and woman create a jurisdictional sphere in the family that the government needs to respect, that individuals need to respect, that society needs to respect. But you see, what He did is He took that understanding of a jurisdictional sphere of authority that exists under God, accountable to God, just like government was under God and accountable to God, just as the church was under God and accountable to God, and they treated it as autonomy, and having created autonomy, they then applied it in that case to abortion. And so, your dignity does not come from having been made in the image of God because you're made from the data of the earth. It has to be your autonomy. Then, in Obergefell versus Hodges with marriage in 2015, the very first sentence of the decision, the Constitution promises liberty to all within its reach, a liberty that includes certain specific rights that allow persons within a lawful realm. Now, don't think that's a limitation because the Supreme Court decides what the lawful realm is. To define and express your identity. So you see, the Supreme Court has said we are each our own truth, and it's not that you can live in your own little universe, but you have the right to go into a social communal environment and express your own truth. Do you see that the foundation of our social order that used to be Judeo-Christian does not exist. Now, Kuyper goes on to tell the students in 1898. He said, "But there is the other side, all those who reverently bend the knee to Christ and worship Him as the Son of the living God and God Himself, that are bent upon saving the Christian heritage." And he said that's the struggle right now in Europe, and that's going to be the struggle for America. Can you save this Christian heritage? Obviously, we did not listen to him. And I asked a good friend of mine why that was the case, and he said, "You understand, Woodrow Wilson was there, undermining people like Kuyper." So ours is a social question. To not recognize that that is the social question, that we face a social question, is to apply the wrong solutions wherever it is that we exist, whether we're preaching on Sunday morning, or whether we're teaching in school, or whether we're in the legislature, or in Congress, or on the court.